Hey gang, it's Paul here from Old Blokes Love Sneakers too. You're about to listen to episode 17. We're doing an interview today with Evan from Rockit Barbers. We get an in-depth chat around his love of sneakers. We get to see some old classics. We talk also about his love of not growing up and all the toys that his mum sent over to him to put in his barber store. We also talk about another collection he's starting, which is a bunch of jerseys. He's got some classics in there. It also proves the point of don't be on late night shopping because you usually buy. As always, you can get us on YouTube and podcasts are on Spotify, iTunes, and wherever you want to get your podcasts from. Enjoy the episode. Hello, welcome to Old Blokes Love Sneakers 2, episode 17. An interview today, one of our fan favourites. We love him. Evan, how are you, my friend?
Very good, Paul. Yourself?
Good, mate. I'm good to see you got your technology sorted there. Couldn't hear you before. That was going to be a funny interview.
Oh, you've just got to push that button that says join audio.
Yeah, that's all right. Don't worry, mate. For my work, I use about 7 or 8 different ones, and they're all different. So
this is the first for me with Zoom.
Oh, excellent. Hey, we won't talk about technology, mate. That's just the bane of our existence. That's not what we're here for. Hey, mate, shoes. We know you love them. Why do you love them?
Because they go on my feet.
Okay, cool. Next question.
No, they go on, like it's an expression of you. You have a nice pair of shoes that, expresses what you can do. And especially with these days, with people going crazy with colours and all that sort of stuff, it just pops out a little bit more. Like you have a look at people in dress in suits, they do it with socks. You have a look at kids who are, 18, 19, they're doing it with, kicks. So it's pretty cool. So I sort of love that sort of style, and that's how I always got into it, just with having that cool pair of shoes.
Do you remember your first pair, the first pair you really loved? I always like to do it with dates people.
Look, the first pair I really, really loved would have been a pair of Converse 500s.
Oh, goodness, you are reading yourself here, my friend.
which I first ever bought those pair of basketball shoes because I couldn't afford a pair of Jordans and couldn't afford a pair of the Reebok pumps that were out at the time or anything like that. So when I was back in Christchurch, I did a day where I was just washing windows on cars at a nice sort of traffic lights. Saved up $100 sort of for the day's work and went out and bought those shoes.
That's not a bad day's work, mate. $100 washing car windows. I like it in those days. It's pretty good.
When you're 13 years old, it's pretty cool.
I was going to say, they would have given you like 20-cent pieces and would have been like...
Yeah, it was all that sort of stuff, There was a lot of change. And went to the bank, changed it all over, went down to our local... It was actually called Foot Locker in New Zealand as well, but it wasn't actually a Foot Locker.
It was different.
And it was a different company, and bought my shoes.
Nice. So, what was the shoe scene like in New Zealand?
Look, the shoe scene's always been pretty cool. You like a pair of Jordans back in 1991 was $350 New Zealand dollars. Right. Now, $350 in 91 was the equivalent of it's a week's wage. Right. So definitely wasn't getting my mum and dad going out and buying me a pair of shoes. I can tell you that much.
No, not at all. Yeah, it's a bit hard, isn't it? When you reminisce like that and you think how much they were then, they're about the same price now, but it's just a different sort of economy of price. Right?
Yeah. And I remember when I first started working a year later, I was getting paid $3.97 an hour and then getting taxed on that. And I'd save up my money so I could go buy, a pair of shoes or a Stussy jumper or something like that, something that was cool.
Yeah, I said that once before. I think my first paid job was like $4.50 an hour, and I thought I was getting paid a fortune. I was in a video store. I thought it was a fortune for a kid.
Yeah, well, I was getting my close to $4 an hour, and getting was getting I think $30 or $40 a week, and I thought I was rich.
Yeah, it's the amount of stuff you could buy, the amount of cassettes I used to buy. Anyway, you gave us some shoes. We're going to bring those up. I want to talk through some of these. Some really nice stuff here, some interesting stuff. So we'll get these up on the screen. Here they come. We're nice and slow today.
All right, mate. Got a big mix here. That was my first thing. I thought a couple of high tops. Hey, let's talk about those Converse. Tell me about these. These are something I like.
All right, the ones on the bottom left are the Converse 500s.
Yes.
So the original ones I had of those were the black suedes.
Beautiful.
I had the mids, but I couldn't find the photo of the mids.
Nice.
But they were just super cool shoes. They came out at the same time, around the sort of same time as the Aero Glides, which Larry Johnson was wearing, which are again the ones on the right. Which, they like he came out of UNLV. He was a superstar.
Gold tooth.
Straight gold tooth. The line down the middle of his head. When he had when he was shaving it. The skin fade on the side, probably the one on top. The line, the box up. It was cool. And then he was Charlotte Hornets. They had been in the league, I'd say about 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
I remember they first drafted. I think Rex Chapman was their first ever pick in the draft.
Good memory, definitely.
And then they had the number 1 pick. They picked him coming out of UNLV. They'd just come off their 37-1 season, getting beaten by Duke in the semi-final.
We'll talk about that a bit later. I watched that game the other day.
It's ESPN. Gotta love it. All the old school basketballs.
Amazing.
And,
I watched it on YouTube. I've just been digging stuff up on YouTube, thinking of players. And we talked about, actually, it went after I saw you, and we talked about that Slam magazine, which we'll talk about later. I went and looked up these games.
Yeah. So, the Aero Glides came out. A couple of my friends had them. They were the coolest shoe around. They were absolutely atrocious to play basketball on outside because they just slipped and slide all over the place. But as soon as you stood on a court, they were the best. But, when you're 13 years old, you don't really play inside that much. So you're always playing on the asphalt. And the Converse 500s were the ones I wanted.
Yeah, they're good. They're very nice. So tell me about the Air Flights.
The Air Flights, well, it was around the same sort of time. Scottie Pippen.
Yes.
1991. They were, they just won their first championship. They were going for the massive, the 92 season, which I class as probably the best Bulls team ever.
Yeah.
That one there, the 96 team was great, but that 92 team, was absolutely phenomenal. And I loved Jordan, but I liked Scottie Pippen. But I thought he was the man, and I just absolutely loved those shoes, and they're the ones he wore. And I remember one of my mates had them, and it had the little sort of flight symbol down on the side, and it was just like, oh, I love those. I remember I stole them off him.
They don't really remember. People don't remember these as much as his other types. This was one of his underrated shoes.
Yeah, well, no air sole showing, all of that sort of stuff. But this is early 90s. It was just one of those days where shoes were just shoes. They hadn't become the status that they have become these days. And these ones were just super cool. Absolutely loved them.
Yep, these are beautiful.
And with the Bulls 33, I don't have them.
Nah. If you had them, that would be amazing to see.
Nah. And then the ones on top of those are the Aero Glide 2s. Which again, Larry Johnson, Charlotte Hornets, again, especially this colorway with the teal and the purple and the white. This was the first sort of pair of white shoes that I just went, hey, cool, I really like those. Again, couldn't afford them, so I just still played in the Converse 500.
And Converse were doing some weird stuff. You can see on those the two Aero Glides, like they've got the Velcro on the side. They were doing some weird sort of things with their shoes, weren't they?
Well, like they came out of going from the Converse weapons back in the 80s, going all the way through, and then they did the Converse 500s. Then they started to, then they were getting killed by Nike because Nike had Jordan, and it just dominated the market. And then you look into what all the sort of stuff Converse were doing, and they were trying to just take a little bit from Nike, and and they brought in, Larry Johnson, and then they signed Kevin Johnson as he showed up. I think it was 2 or 3 episodes ago with Joel's seal of approvals.
We'll talk about those in a sec. Hey, let's talk about this last one. This one stands out. It's like an outlier.
Yeah. Well, Yeah, I love Chuck Taylors, but everybody wears Chucks. So I absolutely love the Jack Purcells. Converse, again, they're just really cool shoes. I've got a set of all leather ones, and I bought them when I was in the States. I think about 8 years ago, and they're just the nicest shoes. Joe will ridicule me again because it's all about Stan Smiths, and they're just taking off that. But
don't worry about it.
But I just love the clean. It had the little bit of black at the front, a little bit. It had the Jack Purcell at the back. They're just super clean.
Beautiful. I think that's a really good traditional one. Hey, you talked about some seal of approvals. I've been using you to win some seal of approvals. And I actually won again last night, which you'll see in the next episode. So I'm bringing them up. Let's talk about these. So you got me these. And, both of these, when I had them there, Joel didn't say it. Joel's went, this is amazing. These are fantastic. I need them,
Yeah.
Both of them, I didn't even have to talk much. The Neeks yesterday, he loved. And then you've obviously got the Converse. Tell me about these, mate.
Well, you have a look at the Run and Guns, which are the Kevin Johnson ones. They were just absolutely cool shoes. Again, the Nike was dominating the market, and the pumps had just come through with D Brown at the 91 dunk competition. With his arm over his eyes, and the pumps up beforehand. But and then with the Velcro over the top with the Run and Guns, they were just cool. And then the pumps, again, Reebok was an absolutely amazing company back in the early 90s. They even sponsored the 1992 Dream Team, the 1992 Olympic uniforms. And as you saw in the great doco that was just came out, that Jordan decided to wear a lovely flag over the top, so they couldn't abuse him.
Oh, they're both really good. They're really classics. They're very authentic sort of stuff. It's just come out too. Reebok have just released the Shacknosis, the Olympic version, on the US site. Yeah, I know.
So that would have been 96.
Yeah,
the
was it
Olympic
96?
96.
Yeah,
He wasn't in the 92 team because he was still coming out of college.
That's right. Yeah, because that was late when he was 96. So
yeah,
definitely. Oh, they look good. They look good as a shoe. They look horrible as a style, but the shoe history is the one that gets you.
Yeah, they were designed for a 7'2", 350-pound mammoth of a man, and
agreed. But that's what they talk about, right? They say that signature shoes, centers, and that just don't sell signature shoes because of how clunky they look, right?
Yeah, well, you think of the centers who had really cool shoes. You had David Robinson with the Air Force 180s. Which came out, they were cool. They even had the pump on the side of them.
Yep, they had that weird, that little thing you had to put into them. That was
but then the mids of those sold absolutely phenomenally. With Charles Barkley, and when he went, because he'd just gone to Phoenix, and then the year after that they went into the Air Max with the full air around the back, and all I remember is the Fab Five all wearing those shoes with black socks.
Oh yeah, the Fab Five wearing that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to transition into the NBA, right? So you're a bit of a barber. You cut hair.
Yep.
You had an Olympic player in and did some hair recently, didn't you?
He wasn't an Olympian. He went to the World Champs.
Oh, World Champs. Of course it was. God, Olympics, World Champs. Yeah. Got a photo of the young fella here. Small bloke.
Yeah, sort of 6'7", Joe Harris.
Yes. How was he? Was he a nice guy?
He was phenomenal. They just got off the plane earlier, about 3 or 4 hours before he came in, and he just decided to go for a walk around the city and Googled barber, and he came into our shop. And we work on a system where unless someone specifically asks for someone, the next person up in the line sort of takes him. And I'm like, sorry, mate, I'm taking this one. I'll do Joe.
Yeah. So barbering, mate. How did we get into that?
How did I get into barbering? I started. I always used to shave my head when I was younger. Go to the barbers and get a nice fade up the sides, number 1, number 2 on top. I absolutely loved seeing, the rugby league players from back in the day, how they always used to have, their tight fades, short hair on top. I remember Ellery Hanley from back.
But that is a long time ago. Goodness.
Oh, I'm old, mate.
Legend.
And I just remember seeing his hair and just absolutely loving it and just going into the barbers. And my mum, being the great tight ass that she is, decided that she'd grab my grandfather's clippers after he passed away and decided to cut our own hair. And then my mates found out I had a pair of clippers and I started cutting their hair when I was 13 years old.
Entrepreneur, I love it. So
I never charged them.
No, hey, come on, that's not good. You need to charge them.
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
So
Got to practice.
you've been doing. So you started in New Zealand, obviously brought it into Australia. When did you get across?
I was a hairdresser in New Zealand, and then when I came over to Melbourne, I got into barbering back in 2001.
And you
I arrived on
Rockit for a long time too. Had Rockit for what, 15 years or so?
15 years. We opened up, signed the lease in July 2005.
Nice, very nice, mate. And so who else? Anyone else exciting you've met? Anyone?
Oh, I could rattle them off. The game. He came into the shop. He was quite funny. The dudes from Naughty by Nature, they came in.
Wow.
We went to Crown and cut Flow Riders here.
Very nice, mate.
Who else is sort of just lots of different people. We had guys from Suicidal Tendencies come. They were pretty cool.
Very good, mate. You've had the clientele. Hey, you know what? When I came down and got my hair cut, I loved all the little men memorabilia. Tell me about that. Tell me the story how you got all that in the shop.
Well, my mum decided that she wanted to get rid of all my stuff when I grew up because, again, my mum's a great tight ass and puts everything into a box, puts it in the attic, and it's sitting there. And she's just like, well, you've now got a room that you can put all this sort of stuff in. So, I've got all my old He-Man figures, sort of bobbleheads, wrestling figures from when I was growing up, because I absolutely loved the wrestling. So, but they never wore any good shoes. So,
no, they used to wear those wrestling. They were really high. They're almost like that, like an 8-up Doc Marten, wasn't it? It was almost like that.
Yeah. It would have been a 16-hole Doc.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. That was hilarious. But you had Masters of the Universe. You had a whole lot of stuff, but you had this collection out the back. Tell me about some of that stuff out the back.
Well, again, I had all this collection. So I've got books that I grew up with, and then I've got magazines that I grew up with, and I've got the original Slam premiere issue, and I've got issue number 2 as well. Mm-hmm. So, as you can see with what you're putting up on the screen,
so we got
that
this
is
one.
Yes. So again, that's Larry Johnson from the Slam Dunk competition in 1992, if I'm correct. No, 92, where he came second, if I'm correct, to, I can't remember who won 92.
No, was that? Yeah.
Harold Miner.
Harold, oh my goodness, yes, of course. How can we forget Baby Jordan?
Yeah, and he's wearing the Aero Glides in that photo right there. Yeah. Gold tooth, big dunk. Just absolutely loved it. Growing up with reading Slam all the time, because I think they used to bring out 4 issues a year, 4 or 5 issues a year.
Yeah, it was quarterly, yeah.
Yeah, and just absolutely loved going down, getting it. And they even had out the back, the issues on the kicks out the back. And, and I remember that first issue there, they've actually got a story on Stephon Marbury at Lincoln High School.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
And they're all wearing all the kicks and all that sort of stuff, all the starter jackets. And
it's pretty amazing. But yeah, so you've got 2 and they're not like framed or anything, just sitting in the drawer. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Just like, here you go.
I'm thinking I might have to get them framed and just have a sign at the bottom saying "break in case of emergency."
Yeah, in case I need to look up something. Yeah, definitely. Because that's when you said, "Oh, I've got these out the back." I'm like, "Cool." I'm expecting to walk out there, and he opens the drawer and he pulls out these 2. I was like, okay, you just got them in the draw. It was amazing.
Yeah.
I was so impressed.
Yeah, and like I've got the original Jordan one when he retired again in '98. So the collector's edition on that one. So that one's pretty funny because it's got Gary Payton, talking trash to him and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, it's amazing read, right? I remember those, and there was Basketball Digest was the other one I used to love, and there was Hoop. Do you remember the Hoop magazine?
Yeah, I remember Hoop.
I used to collect all of them. I just had so many of them. And then the Australian one came out for a little bit because you get the Australian one because it had about 3 pages of NBA, and you thought it was amazing. You got this NBA concept. I just had so many.
I remember seeing that, and they had this South Melbourne. Was it South Melbourne Magic and stuff like that?
Yep. They had Magic. Yep. Southeast Melbourne Magic. They had lots of stuff. It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And just reading about all those guys from back in the day,
It was such a different way to get your knowledge, wasn't it? Because it was just snippets of it. Because there was nothing, you couldn't just jump on somewhere and look at something live. It was months behind, and you'd be getting them out. Like I remember trying to dig through the newspaper, trying to get the results. It was just such a different time. Right?
Oh, it was. I was lucky because we had Sky TV in New Zealand, which is the equivalent of Foxtel over here, and we had ESPN from back in 1992. So I've pretty much seen every NBA's final since 1992.
That's pretty good. We had it terribly. We used to have it on TV. I remember the Lakers one, the first title, the first Bulls title. We had to watch that late at night, like on replay. We'd heard what had happened, and so it was on late at night.
Oh, so that would have sucked.
It was crazy. It was just crazy. Like there was not enough information. You sort of knew what had happened, but you hadn't seen it. It was just unbelievable. Like it was late. I think it might have been Channel 10 even. And they had like highlights of it. You could never get full games, and it was just a really interesting way of doing it. But, I like to do digging, right? So there's something I always like to pick up different. You're a bit of a sportsman, mate. You're a bit of a cyclist, aren't you? Yeah. I've seen you actually won a few things too back in the day.
I can ride a bike a little. But
look how modest you are. I pulled up one photo. There was a lot of photos on there to choose from.
Yep, that one there. That's when I was the president of the St Kilda Cycling Club, and I'm marshalling the Criterium champs down there, and that's after I just came back from a knee injury.
I was going to say, you did your knee pretty badly, didn't you?
Well, I tore my ACL playing soccer in the UK, and then 13 years later it decided to hurt me.
God.
And then I had the surgery to fix it, so I had an ACL surgery, and then I had another 4 surgeries afterwards because I got golden staph.
Oh God, mate! No, I was going to say you got a few. You had a bit of a bit of a recovery mislap, didn't you? It was a bit of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I learned how to walk after 4 months.
Oh God, that's good. But no, let's get back to your cycling. You deflected that really well. You actually won a couple of things, didn't you? Come on.
I've won probably about 3 or 4 races in my time.
Definitely. There's some good stuff.
And then they've always moved me up a grade, and then it's taken me a while to win again.
Definitely. Hey, that's all right. You've won. That's 3 or 4 more than Joel ever won, right? So there you go. Look, we got our bash in for Joel.
Yeah.
You don't have to say it's all right. I got it. Hey, I like his new haircut too. Let's just call that out here. His new mohawk. I like it.
Well, he wants to look like Jordan DeGoey.
You know what the best part was? We went out for dinner on the weekend, and I didn't even recognise it because I was looking at him like face on for the whole thing. And then afterwards, he goes, "You didn't say anything about my haircut." I was like, "What?" He goes, "I got a mohawk." I was like, "Oh, I didn't even realise." So,
well, that's just the subtle thing. Party at the front.
Exactly. Done well.
Party at the back. Business at the front. Party at the back.
Definitely. Jordan the Goalie. I'm going to start calling him Jordan from now on. I like it. And he'll know it's a meaning, Jordan. Hey, you've also got a bit of another fetish. There's another fetish I like that we picked up. A bit of basketball singlets, mate. And there's some good stuff too. You've got 2 that are amazing.
I think I've got probably 4 that are amazing.
Well, there's only 2 I could find. The Duke, this one. I love this one.
Yeah. Christian Leitner. Again, that was a late night buy on the internet after watching I Hate Christian Leitner on ESPN.
I love that. You know what I like? The bit in the bottom. When you see it, you buy it. I just love it.
Yeah.
But I like that.
Yeah.
I remember when you told me that the other day, when we were talking the other day, and you said it was I hate Christian Leighton, and then went out and brought his singlet. I think everyone else would go the opposite. You've got, hey, I'm going to go get that singlet. I love it.
Yeah, it was just like, I remember I did it with the Detroit Bad Boys. I bought their T-shirt of their back-to-back after watching their episode. It's just like I wanted to get one after I watched Bo Jackson as well, so that I love Bo.
Oh, Bo knows, mate. He was one of my favourites. No, you're right with the Detroit Pistons too. I had the same thing. I love Jordan, but I just love the way the Pistons played. That's the way I used to play too.
I just love basketball. I didn't care.
It's great, isn't it? Hey, there was another singlet on there. Tell me about this one. This is a nice singlet too.
Oh, when it comes up. Well, this is Kobe Bryant's one. So just after he passed away, everything was coming up, and it came up on my Instagram, and it just said, you can buy this. So I just bought it, and then I think it was about 3 months later it arrived, because it is from China. And China went into a lockdown because of the situation that we're in at the moment. But I got my Kobe Bryant Lower Memorial High School singlet.
It's a nice singlet too. Yeah, I know, that's a good story.
Oh, it's fit.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good, like, I think that's, I think the thing that we love on here is it's memories, that you buy things from memories, right? Like all the shoes we've talked about, if you're looking at them aesthetically, they're ugly, but we've got some really good memories for all of us, right? That's
it's like I remember watching, like the Sports Center podcast, Sports Center shows back in early '96, when he's sitting down there making his decision to go to the NBA, and and then you go back to 2010, and when when LeBron James says, I'm taking my talents to South Beach, it's exactly a rip-off on what Kobe Bryant said back in 1996, 14 years before that.
Yeah, they're a little bit different. One was very terrible. One made him out terrible. The other one, actually, everybody enjoyed.
Just watching all that stuff with Kobe, I remember him coming into the league wearing the Adidas shoes and all that, and I remember, specifically buying those Adidas shoes, not his ones, but with the ones built like a foot, with the sole and all that sort of stuff. I loved low tops, so I was always into the cross trainer ones, and just because of Kobe back in 24 years ago.
He's a really interesting study. I think I loved him early on with Shaq. I thought they were amazing, and then when he went to that selfish phase, that middle bit, I just sort of lost it. It was, because I always like to look at players that I'd like to play with. He's someone you just wouldn't want to play with in some of the days, right? But now it's flipped for me. Now you can see why he did it like that, and you go, shit, this is amazing. He'd be someone you'd die to play with.
The best ever thing you could ever hear, is Larry Bird got asked a question, do you want to play with LeBron or would you play with Kobe? He goes, well, if I wanted to win, I'd play with Kobe. If I wanted to have fun, I'd play with LeBron.
It's a great quote, isn't it? It's a fantastic quote. Hey, tell me about those, before we go, tell me about those other two singlets you talked about. You said you got 4.
Of the other 2 singlets, I've got a Fab 5 Jalen Rose one.
Yes, sure.
So the yellow Michigan. So as we spoke about in the last time we had a nice chat, my mother-in-law bought me that, but I paid for it. And then
you paid for it
a year later, and then I actually paid the money for it. My wife got it back from her mother-in-law, but yeah. And then a year later, my wife bought me the Michael Jordan North Carolina one.
Look at that, mate. You got some lovely ladies in your life.
Well, yeah. You just got to pick them well.
They even fix up your Zoom before we start. They've got you organised. Look at that, mate. They've got you here. Jeez.
Well, yeah, it's because I deal with people. I don't deal with computers.
No, you've got some good stories. I saw that one you did just recently about the guy's haircut, the time lapse, mate. Who set that up for you? That was good.
Oh, that was me just having some fun.
That was good. See, you got some talent there. You just gotta embrace it, mate.
Oh, I've got a guy supposedly come in on Friday, and he's got one that's actually on a track system that goes back and forth. Oh, so we're gonna try and set that up underneath the TV in the shop, and then have that going sort of for about an hour, sort of just time lapsing in the shop.
Beautiful. Hey, mate, we're a bit out of time here. Thank you so much for spending half an hour with me. It's been phenomenal. We could talk forever. I'm almost due another haircut. That's why I've got my hat on. It's not that I'm advertising push-pull or anything like that. I've got a bit of a fluffy head as well.
No,
Hey,
you're
thank you.
advertising push-pull.
And that's I'm already advertising. They get enough advertising from us. So. Hey, thank you so much, mate.
No problems, mate.
Yeah,
Always a pleasure.
We'll take this conversation up next time I'm in for a haircut.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Great to see you.
Hey, beautiful. That's been Old Blokes Love Sneakers too. I almost said spilling the kicks, which I always do. Thank you, Evan. We will see you all soon.